All I knew is that I didn't want to work for somebody else. And my parents saw that as, oh, my son's going to be a deadbeat, lazy, like unemployed. At 10 years old, I started my own lawn mowing business and I grew that to the point where when I was 12 years old, I was making $1,000 a month. Money isn't good or bad. It's if you want something, you just got to figure out how to pay for it. I think the biggest problem was putting too many employees on salary too soon, especially when we didn't have like consistent revenue coming in.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit, where we talk all things business, entrepreneur journey, the wins, the losses, and the lessons learned along the way. Today's guest is the amazing Braydon Barrett. What is up, buddy?
Not much, Pam. How are you?
I am amazing. I'm super excited to have you share your story with everyone. So let me officially introduce you. Braydon is the founder of Look Like You Lift, a high performance fitness coaching company helping high achieving men transform their bodies and their lives. After a period of explosive growth left his business bloated and unprofitable, Braydon made a bold pivot using AI to slash 250K in annual expenses and rebuild his company with a lean, high margin model. Now more profitable than ever with a fraction of the team, Braydon shares how smart systems, bold decisions, and relentless focus can help any entrepreneur scale sustainable and reclaim control. Boom! I love it. So fun. I love this. And you and I met, what, 2 years ago? Is that how long it's been?
No, I think it's been almost like 3 years now.
In 3 years? Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy, crazy. So let's dive in. What did you want to be when you grew up? What was like 7-year-old Braydon's dream?
I was thinking about this and I never was like, oh, I want to be an astronaut or a firefighter. All I knew is that I didn't want to work for somebody else. That's all I knew. And my parents saw that as, oh, my son's going to be a deadbeat, lazy, like unemployed. No, I didn't want to work for anyone else. I just wanted to work for myself. That's all I knew I wanted to do.
I love it. And look for you now. Dream achieved, brother.
I think so, yeah.
I love it. So tell me about as a kid, what were you taught about money? What was your money mindset? Was money good, bad? Did you want it, not want it? All of that.
Yeah, so I was born and raised not in like a poor household. I would say we were pretty like middle class growing up, but I'm really grateful because my parents taught me that if you wanted something, you had to make your own money to get it. So if I wanted a Lego set, I had to figure out what work needed to get done around the yard to get it. And I took that principle of that I learned at like 5 or 6, and I like took it as far as I could. I was like, well, so if I wanted to get my own TV, like, could I do that? And they're like, yeah, just make money. You just got to pay for it. And so that was kind of like the mindset my whole childhood was you can have whatever you want as long as you just make your own money for it. So that's what kind of got the gears turning of, okay, I want this. How can I get it? And so at 10 years old, I started my own lawn mowing business
Love it.
and I grew that to the point where when I was 12 years old, I was making $1,000 a month, which as a 12-year-old kid, that's an insane
That's
amount of
real
cash.
money, dude.
Yeah, and so I just continued that, and then I eventually had, other kids helping me out with my workload. So kind of like outsourcing and delegating. I had no idea what these terms were, but I just kept doing that. And then at 16, I was like, okay, well, I want a car. So how much cash do I need to put together to buy a car? And that was kind of the mindset that I've always just grown with is that money isn't good or bad. It's if you want something, you just got to figure out how to pay for it. So,
I love
yeah.
it. I love it. So your company is Look Like You Lift, and I've met you in person, and you do in fact look like you lift. So congratulations. But help us understand how powerlifting came into play. How was that
Hmm.
introduced to you? Where did it become a passion? I mean, because you've got some really impressive titles and wins along the way, but how was that introduced to you?
Yeah, so one of my entrepreneurial endeavors was because where was raised was around a lot of farmers. And I found out that, okay, so if I wanted to make even more money outside of mowing lawns during the day, I can actually go work on the farm at 5 in the morning, work for 3 or 4 hours, go take a nap, and then go mow some lawns. So like that can make me some extra cash. So it was on the farm that I learned about farmer strength. You had I was a runt. I was like a really small kid. And you had
Yeah.
these other farm boys who were throwing bales of hay. They were throwing giant, 100-pound sacks of potatoes. And like I was struggling. So that's kind of where I became obsessed with strength. And when I graduated high school, that's where I wanted to kind of take my farmer strength and apply it into something a little more competitive. And that's where I got into powerlifting. I was able to be mentored and coached by some of the best strength coaches in the world. And then I took that and I went into strongman, placed in Utah's Strongest Man in 2017. And so all the lessons that I learned from the farm applied over into the strength sports. And then from the strength sports, I decided to make that my career because I noticed that it's the strength that I gained to be competitive was so much more than just being competitive. There are normal people who need these skills just so they don't break a hip from trying to climb up the stairs at 80 years old. And so that's what kind of led me down the career path. And that's where I am now. So
I love you. But you spent some time in big box gyms, right?
yeah, I had to earn my stripes. I had to work in the trenches. And so I had to work for the big box gyms for about 4 or 5 years. And then that's when I kind of took the risk and made the leap to just working for myself.
And so when you made that leap, what did that look like? Were you training in the gyms? Like, help us understand that.
So, yeah, typically when you become a personal trainer, you will go apply for a big franchise and they will employ you, and you are responsible for basically just training whoever they give you. And I had a lot of problems with that. One of the major problems was I don't agree with the model that they would employ. Like it was outdated. It just didn't fit the way that I like to coach. And on top of that, there was just some people that I just didn't like working with. And so that's when I was like, okay, again, I want to make more money, but I also want to help more people. How do I do that? And that's when I found out that you can actually just go rent a facility, kind of like how a hairstylist they rent out a chair. It's the same kind of thing. So I was like, okay, well, I found out I can rent out a spot in this gym in this very affluent part of town in Utah, but I would have to find my own clientele. I would have to like do all of the marketing and all the sales and all the client fulfillment, but I'd be able to make as much money as I wanted and do things the way I wanted to do. And so that's when I decided to take the leap. And it was really scary because I was broke and I had no idea how to do this whole business thing. It just I was like, all I knew is that I wanted to do things my way. I didn't want to work for anybody else. I wanted to make as much money as I wanted, and this is how I had to do it. So I just kind of just jumped right in. So
So when you first started out and you started getting clients at that rental space, what was the financial win where you're like, oh, I can do this? Like, this is bringing value to the marketplace. People want this. This is going to get me closer to what I want.
I actually have an even cooler win.
Okay.
Because yeah, I made quite a bit of money doing one-on-one in-person coaching, but when I first got married, this is actually one of my favorite stories. You probably heard this one in Nashville.
I am, but
So
I love it.
okay, so had a lot of business downfall, a lot of business failures, and so when I met my wife, I was pretty much broke, and we had maybe $200 to our name. We could barely scrape by to make rent, and so I decided I wanted to go online because I couldn't keep busting my butt face to face trading in hours for clients. So I decided to go online, and so I read a lot of books. Attended as many like masterminds as I could possibly afford, which at the time wasn't very much. And I decided to just hold my first webinar. And I had like just a simple information product. It was like look like you lift, how to look like you lift in 6 months. And it was just like a simple like $200 product. And we couldn't even afford internet at the time. And so I had to walk over to the library in our town to use their internet on my $100 Chromebook to make this information product. And so I held this webinar. At the time, I couldn't even afford to rent out one of the private rooms inside the library. So I was sharing it with another old lady who probably had no clue what the freak I was doing. But I held the webinar, didn't really expect, we had quite a pretty big turnout and I didn't really expect to make any sales. I was like, this isn't really going to work. And then I finish up, I offer the pitch and I made $600 just like that. And I've made a lot of money since then. I think I've broken 2.5 million so far, but that $600 was the best $600 I've ever made in my life.
I love it.
That was the moment where I was like, holy shit, okay, I can do this. I can do this online thing.
Yeah.
And my wife was on the webinar, kind of listening in, and she was outside like of the library, like kind of another part of the library. I wrap up the webinar and I look over at her and she looks at me and we're both like quietly freaking out. And that's when, it was all game over. Like, okay, we can do this. So that's when I made the pivot into prioritizing more of the online stuff and not trying not to do so much face to face. Because again, I can scale that more. I can help more people as opposed to just trading my hours for one person at a time.
Yeah, there's a huge breakthrough when you realize if you stop trading time for money and start doing it at scale, it becomes a completely different game. And now social media is a huge piece of your business.
It's a
So
massive
talk
piece.
more about that. Like, how are you utilizing social media to do the one to many rather than the Braydon and one person sweating it out?
I would say social media is like the most important gear in the mechanism because that's literally how we acquire leads. We're just now getting into ads, which is kind of a relief because I've been doing the social media game for 12 years now, so I'm getting a little tired. But for the last 12 years, it really was just about getting my content in front of as many people as possible, and then from there, educating those people on how I do things, and then just providing enough value that I can comfortably say, "Hey, if you want more help, this is what it looks like. Hop on
Yeah.
a call. We'll see if we're a good fit, and we just go from there." So the funnel is actually rather simple. We do kind of a mix of viral stuff to try to get as many people to see our stuff as possible. Then we educate our current following, and then from time to time we just reach out like, "Hey, you want more? You want more help? This is what it looks like to do that."
Tell us, in the intro, we talked about how you cut $250,000 of annual expenses by leveraging AI and software. Like, did you just have too many staff, too many software? Like, where was the bloat at? Because when we come into businesses, we often see that normally there's not, unless someone's stealing from you, there's not a complete gusher of money leaving your business. It's like a leaky bucket. There's lots of little places where you're losing money, profitability is going out the door, you could make more. So, where were some areas that you identified, like, what the crap? Why? Why?
Yeah, I'm not that good at this whole business thing, apparently. I've made a lot of mistakes, which I guess makes for good learning
That
lessons.
makes
But
you a good business owner.
I guess, yeah. So we had a massive explosion in 2021. We just took off on TikTok and we made the most money that we've ever made. And so what I did is to handle the demand, I started hiring. I started making a bunch of hires. I took my head coach and I put him on salary. I put my VA on salary. So I started over hiring, overpaying. And the problem with that was I was so busy of outsourcing and delegating that I wasn't putting more stuff on my plate. Like everyone else was doing my job, and I was kind of left waking up in the morning, sitting at the computer, and like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Like I didn't know how to fill in my extra work hours. So the business started to dwindle, and cash reserves started to go away, and I really had to sit there and be like, okay, what the hell do we do? Because I can't keep doing this. And yeah, so the leaking bucket was several different things. It was a lot of softwares that just didn't need to be used. It was, I think the biggest problem was putting too many employees on salary too soon, especially when we didn't have like consistent revenue coming in. I think those are like the two biggest ones. And then the other one was just not knowing my numbers month in and month out. Like I just was under the assumption that if I just have enough money coming in and I just can just focus on sales, we'll be okay. But that's not the case. You need to know your numbers. So
Yes. Yes, very much. So, what
yeah.
are some metrics that you track now to ensure that things are lining up where you want them to be?
So we have a KPI sheet that we track. So we're tracking monthly recurring rev. We're tracking lifetime value of a client. We're tracking conversion rate. We're tracking, well, now we're tracking like some ad spend numbers like client acquisition cost, ad spend, those kind of things. And then we're tracking COGS, cost of goods sold. That was something that one of your guys taught me. So
Thank you.
yeah, of course. So we're tracking that, and then yeah, basically I'm actually reviewing my profit and loss statement every month now. So, which that's something that I didn't even know was a thing until I started working with you. So
Right?
yeah.
I love it. So, as far as what you're doing now, what's next for you? Where are you headed? Where's the business going?
Great question. So we've made some massive layoffs and we've let go of, I would say, 95% of our software. And I have just two employees now. Well, we went from like 8 or 9 employees to just two, me and my wife. And so not only did we just save $250,000 a year in outgoing expenses, but we're profitable for the first time in 2 years. And so two of the major things that did that is leveraging AI. I became obsessed, like obsessed with AI and trying to put AI into every single corner of the business as possible. And the second piece is just utilizing one software as opposed to like several different. So like we're using Go High Level now. So Go High Level, that alone has saved us about $3,000 a month in outgoing expenses just by switching to that. So Yeah, so just leveraging AI. So we put AI into almost every single corner of the business now. So AI is handling a lot of the operations that were once handled by employees, and that's allowing us to stay profitable. The next step for us is I've decided that I don't want to be so much in like kind of the mid-ticket coaching. I'm looking to more coach the affluent. So some of the big business owners, some of the executives, some of the entrepreneurs, because one of the things that I learned is if you want to be rich, help rich people. So that's who we're pivoting to working with. And so far it's working really well. One of the big questions I had to ask was, all right, so if I want to make a lot more money from these people who make more money, they clearly need something that they're not already getting in the market.
Right.
And so I asked a lot of questions, interviewed a lot of people, and now we have a product that I can truly say is not like anything that is on the market right now. It is one of a kind. And it with our coaching now, it is as close to me living in your house, making your food, lifting the weights for you as I can possibly get while living over here in Utah.
Yeah.
So
I love that. It's just amazing. And I agree, going up market makes a huge difference. There was a couple seasons in my own business where we just had to really look and be like, these smaller clients just don't fit where we're going, and you have to make those hard decisions. All right. So I also know that you took some time out of the States and moved your family, wife and son, overseas, lived in Thailand for a while. So tell us about that and how that worked with running your business.
I wish I could say it was a beautiful experience. It was a lot harder than I planned. It was a lot harder than I planned. There were a lot of really cool lessons that I learned along the way, but I'm glad to be back. We're definitely going to be going back, like, but to vacation for a few months as opposed to trying to live there. It was unfortunate that I had to learn about my numbers and learn about all of the mistakes that I was making in business when I was already out there,
Hmm.
and I had to like do a lot of like emergency stuff while I was out there to kind of clean up the mess. And unfortunately, that was one of the decisions that made us come back here. So I think had I had my systems in place a little more solid and knew what the hell I was doing, I think we could have like lasted a little bit longer out there. So I had to learn how to work strange hours. Like I had to take meetings at 3 in the morning sometimes. I had
Yeah.
to take meetings at like 11 p.m. sometimes. So you're still working on like USA time zones while living on the other side of the world. So I think if we were to do that again, I would need to like make sure that my meetings, or at least delegate the meetings to somebody else who is in that time zone, and then like connect with me outside that time zone. So I learned a lot. I don't know how much we want me to go into details with all that, but it was great. It was a great learning experience. We'll put it that way.
I love it. And what I appreciate is the authenticity of like that stress test. It stress test your business and you learned, oh crap, I've got problems.
Well, it was Warren Buffett that said, it's not until the tide goes out that you find out who's been skinny dipping. So we've been skinny dipping for like 3 years, and it took me having to move to the other side of the world to be like, oh crap, we've got some problems that we have to clean up. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that happened because now our systems are more solid and clear than ever. So
And you got to realize that money in, money out isn't enough. You've got to track the better metrics. You've got to look at your P&L. And you're successful. It was an impressive business. But then it was like the water went out and you and your wife were standing there and you're like, this is awkward, right? Like
yeah.
you've got to figure out, okay, what's actually happening in my business. So now that you're back, you got these KPIs, you got these dashboards, and you're like, I know what's actually happening now.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if we wanted to go out again, we could. And I would probably wouldn't be freaking out as much as I did last time. So
Well, I'm sure there'd be something else that broke, but I guarantee the things that broke last time aren't going to break this time because you fixed them.
right. Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. All right. So let's talk health for a little bit. So you work with men so they look like they lift. So
Mhm.
obviously that's a combination of meals and workouts, but like what is your core belief that help people, men, go from the dad bod to, hey, I feel confident in walking around? Like what are your core beliefs that set aside you and your methodology from other people?
Good question. This has actually changed quite a bit. So I've been doing this for about 13 years now, and I'm ashamed to say I feel like I should have a lot more transformations doing this for as long as I did than I do. And it wasn't just until a couple of years ago I found out why. So we, just like every other trainer out there, we focused way too much on the sets, the reps, and the calories.
Mm.
And mathematically, that stuff would get your results. Okay. But we're not working with robots. We're working with people. We're working with people with emotions, beliefs, mindsets, past traumas. And the biggest thing for me was when I looked at those who had success and those who failed didn't fail because they didn't want it enough or they weren't trying hard enough. Just like those who succeeded, it wasn't because they tried harder, they worked harder. There was one thing that they both had in common, and it was their identity.
Mm.
So I found out I wasn't coaching people, I was coaching personas. So the people who saw success already believed they were winners,
Love that.
already believed that they were fit. They already believed that they were in shape. They already had that instilled in their mind and their body just caught up. On the flip side, those who didn't see success didn't believe that they were ever going to be fit, didn't believe that this was ever going to work. And because of that, those limiting beliefs, subconsciously, they just sabotage themselves. So instead of coaching from the outside in, we now coach from the inside out. And so we spend a lot of time on identity shifting. So instead of trying to get you to lose 50 pounds, I want you to start acting like someone who's just 50 pounds lighter. So, like, what would the 50-pound lighter version of yourself be doing? Okay, let's figure that out. And then let's just start living like that. And if I can get you to start envisioning yourself as you already are 50 pounds lighter, you're already healthier, you already love the way you look, you're much more likely to be acting like that subconsciously. So, ever since we made that switch, like, yeah, we have the best training and nutrition systems out there, I believe, but like that stuff is moot if we don't imply this stuff as well. But ever since we applied this stuff, success stories have just been going through the roof. And client adherence has been going through the roof. Clients have been staying longer, like, and clients are just happier. So I think that's what really sets us apart.
I love that. I think that's beautiful. And it's so brilliant because I don't hear that. We have a lot of clients in the fitness space and training space, and I don't hear that. It's the macros, it's the calories, it's the proteins, grams, and take the GLPs, take the peptides, whatever. And but no, but you're right. I don't hear anyone out there saying, be like, if you want to be 50 pounds lighter, act like, identify as that. And how would you act? Well, okay, yeah, I would get up earlier and move if I was 50 pounds lighter, right? And it's just that wake up call. And it's amazing because I see the same things right with our clients with money. And that's why I ask about the money mindsets and the goals of our clients. Because if you don't think that money is good, and if you don't think you can be a millionaire, you will self-sabotage. Like, I've seen it time and time and again. Clients get right to the line and blow it up.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
had
sure
to,
it's the same thing with you.
well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what had to happen to me to get the business profitable was, yeah, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but I still had limiting beliefs that I wasn't going to make enough or I was never going to see myself making a million. And like, or one of the biggest limiting beliefs was I'm just not organized. I'm just not a number person. That's just not who I am. And so when you believe that, of course you're not going to take the time to review your KPIs, because it's just not who you think you are. But I had to like sit down and say, I am a numbers person. I am a millionaire. It just hasn't happened yet. And so as soon as I like just started affirming to myself that I am organized, I am a number person, I am a millionaire, and started just believing that, subconsciously I started doing all the things that I should be doing. I started taking my P&Ls more seriously, tracking my numbers, looking at them on a weekly basis. So, but like all the stuff is there, like your team has it all laid out, ready to go, but it was me having to make that mental switch for me to actually do it. So,
Yeah. No, and honestly, like, so full disclosure, Braydon is a client of ours and has been a client for years, but your numbers also reflect that mind shift. Like, your numbers after you being out of the country and before are very different. So now
yeah,
that you're like, oh, let me get my crap together and because we send our P&Ls and financials every month, but like, I can tell you're watching now because your numbers are stronger. Like, so just like your transformation story, I just want to affirm exists because look at your P&L 2 years ago and look at it now. You've done the work. You now identify as a successful entrepreneur. You identify as a multimillionaire. You identify as someone who is good at numbers and knows numbers, and your financials reflect that. Like,
yeah.
so hats off. You've done the work, buddy. I'm so proud. That's amazing. And
Oh, thank you, Pam.
you're out there doing it for men out there to be like, look, you want to be a healthier version of yourself, identify as that. That's beautiful. And that's a huge mindset because there are a lot of successful men out there who don't think that they can look good again, don't think that they can get away from the dad bod.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. This is amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm going to end with some rapid response questions. So I'm just going to ask questions and then you answer. Don't explain. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Okay. Profit or growth?
Profit.
What's one business expense you'll never cut no matter what?
Accounting.
Yes. I love you for that. What's the best money advice you've ever received?
Live like no one else so you can live like no one else.
If you had to start over again today, what's the first thing that you would do differently with your business finances?
Get out of debt.
What does financial freedom mean to you, Braydon?
Liquidity.
I love that. So amazing. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and telling about your wins and your losses and your amazing mindset and how you transform men's lives. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, we're all over social media at Look Like You Lift on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, you can find us everywhere.
And I encourage all of you to go to his social because if you look, you'll be like, oh, yes, he does look like he lives. Like,
I sure hope so. That's my job title. So
I think there's a picture of us somewhere. I've got to find it. Me standing next to you, I look like a small human. I am a small human, but I look significantly smaller standing next to Braydon.
I'm
So
flattered.
amazing. No, I love it. I don't want to look like I lift. It's perfectly fine. I want to look like I don't lift. It's fine.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love what you do. Thank you so much for trusting Pivot. So, all of you out there, entrepreneurs, if you're struggling with the ebbs and flows of money and figuring out, am I making money? Where's all my money going? Just go to pamjordan.com. My team would love to talk to you. Braydon, this has been an honor. Thank you so much. That's all for today's episode. And everyone remember, it is not what you make that matters, it's what you keep.
Thanks for having me.